Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline, and just me. It's just me doing an update that apparently takes an hour. Talking about the struggles in life, struggles that face us day in, day out. The 36-hour fast. Is it the right move? The big red monster. And should you pay money for 7 out of 10? No TV this week, I'm afraid, but there are a couple of movies, a couple of games, and some VR stuff. Before we get into it, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. The biggest one, the fan favourite, the firm favourite. Please share the podcast around. If you enjoy the podcast, maybe somebody else will enjoy it. You've got a friend, they're like you watch the same TV programs, you watch the same movies, you think maybe. Yeah. Anyway, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello. How are you doing? I've got the early start and not a lot to go through. This is obviously a terrible combination. But we're just going to get into it. Usual rules apply. If you're not okay this week, if you're not okay when you're hearing this, do feel free to get in touch. Because this is one of those weeks where I encourage you to get in touch, because I am not having a good week. I'm not having a good life experience. And I'm now going to talk about it at length. I think I've mentioned this before. I've been doing this podcast for years. I listened to a podcast the other day where somebody was like, "Oh, because you've been doing this for ages now. You're like one of the big ones." Like, yeah, we've had like 350 episodes. I was like, oh, really putting in the work there. I've got 350 episodes of my podcast alone. Like, CookieCast as a, I don't know, network, if you want to call it that. Over 1,000 episodes. Now, admittedly, somebody hearing that now, who also has a podcast, is like, 1,000 episodes? Oh, bless. Did you have to break a sweat to put those out? I have absolutely no idea where I was going with that. No, yep, I've wound it back. I've been doing this a while. I think I've talked about a lot of subjects repeatedly. We could talk about I don't like adverts, if you like, and bad driving. Anybody remember the bad driving days? Yeah. Ironically, I was going to do something about driving today. It may come up. But I think I've maybe mentioned this before. A few years ago, about 20 years ago, I had some, I suppose nowadays it'd be referred to as like mental health help or counselling or whatever you want to call it, because I was struggling with life, and the element I was struggling with life was people and the way people treat other people, and how it seemed to be easy for some people to treat other people badly, and how how that affected me as a person. And I was all about, I'm all about the karma and they'll get theirs and this, that and the other. And as time went on and nobody ever seemed to get theirs, it was always like, so what? People are just that way. And there was a lot of like learning to deal with and learning to cope with and learning to be able to function as a person. And that was a long time ago. And recently, I'm struggling. And the short version is I'm struggling. I'm struggling with people as a concept. It's a bit hard to talk about stuff when I know that there's a time delay on the podcast. I record this and then 3 weeks later it'll come out. Anything I talk about now will be well and truly considered old news. And I don't imagine that anybody is sitting there waiting for the latest drop of this podcast. I imagine anybody that actually listens to it probably listens to it days, weeks, months, or even years later. When I look at like podcast numbers, it's like, this many listens and this many downloads and this many whatevers. And those numbers are a particular level in the first day, and they change by the end of the first week, and they change by the end of the first month. And if you then go back several years and look at those, the numbers are wildly different to what they are. And it's something that I do once every 3 to 6 months or so. I just go and look at like what the historical numbers are. There was this sort of assassination shooting situation, which almost immediately there were multiple different conspiracies around this. As a man who believes in a good old-fashioned conspiracy, I do wonder what they're trying to achieve with this conspiracy. I don't know if they're trying to make you believe that this man is still alive or what. That is one end of the scale. There's one end of the scale where I, as a person who, as I said to somebody the other day, I said, I love a movie, I love a shooty bang bang movie, and I love a shooty bang bang video game, and that's about where it ends for me. I don't like the reality of guns and like mass shootings and like this like it's this assassination type stuff and so on and so forth. I'm not that's not it for me. I like an action movie. I like I like computer games, and yeah, like I say, that's where I like that sort of stuff to end. So, guns in real life is not. I'm not a massive fan, I think, is where I'm coming from. That is one of the extremes. I unfortunately saw the video of. I was very surprised that I was able to see said video just sitting there on the old social media. That was something that was I was unprepared for, and it made me particularly emotional to watch. I don't know what this person was particularly all about, and I don't know whether my views in any way, shape or form would align with theirs. I think they were quite radical in a lot of their thoughts and outspoken. However, anything that I'd seen, I know that they used a lot of I can't find another way to put it other than fact. Like, the way that they were able to argue did seem to be a lot of... I find that they were often saying, like, well, in actual fact, it's this and that sort of thing. I know that they were heavily behind certain subjects that I don't agree with, and I know that they were hugely religious, which is also something that I don't particularly get behind. So I kind of work on the principle my beliefs and thoughts and feelings probably don't align too well with this person. However, they were a human being, father of a young family, married, and we're all human beings at the end of the day. And I don't know if I really can really get behind like that. So you see this on the internet and you go, this is a terrible, awful thing, no matter whether I agree with this person's beliefs. I tell you what I don't agree with. I don't agree that somebody should die for their beliefs. And then, on the other hand, I get annoyed that it's too noisy in the office because I'm like, why can't people learn to talk at a normal volume? And it's basically that. It's basically me just like, why is this and why is that and why is the other and why this and why has this person chosen to do this, and why, when there are two perfectly good pavements, would you choose to walk your dogs down the middle of the street? The road, sorry. 2 perfectly good pavements. You've decided middle of the road for you. Why, when there is a massive cycle path mere 10 feet away, would you choose to ride your bike down the tiny footpath? Why? And like I say, I've been struggling with noise. It seems to be getting to me a bit at the moment, which I also understand sort of how that, for want of a better pun, how that sounds. And just I just can't at the moment. I just can't. And it's all stemming. I know where it's all coming from, and I know where it's all stemming from, and it's largely to do with me struggling with a lot of stuff closer to home. Like, I've got these issues and these problems, and they're all like in my own backyard, as they would say, and I don't feel like I can do anything about them, and there's certain things that I just cannot do anything about at all, and there are other things that I wish I could do something about and I can't, and it's just like some of my people are not my favourite people at the moment, and that is very difficult to deal with. And then I've got this whole thing of like my favourite people and the people I want to spend time with, I can't, and I just keep saying to like I just keep I said to one of my children in the last not 24 hours. It's not 24 hours. In the last 48 hours, let's just say randomly, I have said this phrase: my word, I forgot you lived here. Not as in I'm a terrible parent. Not in that way, anyway. Not in that sense. No. In the I forgot you lived here because I haven't seen you in what feels like days. Somebody said to me the other day about something, and I think I was telling somebody at climbing, and they'd asked me about like a couple of different things, and I was like, I just don't see anyone. And I don't mean like, friends and family and things like that. I mean like people I live in the same house with. I said to my youngest daughter this evening, I was like, I feel like I don't. You see how I'm starting to get. Starting to get a little emotional. I said to my youngest daughter, I was like, I feel like I don't see you. I feel like I haven't seen you. Like I haven't seen you all day. Sort of thing. And she was like, it's okay, we'll see each other later. I was like, what, for the 8 minutes I'll see you before you go to bed? I was like, I'm happy that it's okay for you that we don't, see each other or spend time together. I was being facetious at that point. But that's how it feels. And me and my eldest are having this whale of a time at the moment. We've got this game thing going, and we've got these movies going. Like I'll talk about some movie stuff in a bit. We've got these movies going, and we've got these games going, and a couple of things have happened recently, and I've been like, once upon a time, my father said, you can tell when something means something to children when they choose to do something off their own back. And I've had a fair few incidents recently where my children have been like, I'd rather spend time with you than do this. And I've been like, really? And there's been quite a lot of that. I had a situation where I took my middle daughter to a party, and I picked her up from the party, and I was like, oh no, I think she's upset. And I was like, oh, what's wrong? Did you enjoy a party? Yeah. I was like, but. And I could just see that she was holding all this emotion in. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And she was like, I didn't want to do this and I didn't want to do that. And it was too noisy. And I was like, and here's the thing. I didn't want her to go to the party. I really, 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 really didn't want her to go to this party, and I really didn't want to have to buy a present to send her off to this party with. And it was one of those where I couldn't find a price for the present, and I was like, it's in an area that everything's a $5, and my eldest is like, let's face it, all of these things are a $5. I was like, yeah, but we don't know, and this could end up being more. And then when I put it through the till and it tells me it's going to be 15 quid, then I'm stuck in a situation where I'm paying a lot more money for something that I don't want to pay for in the first place. And that's exactly what happened. We put it through the till and it was more expensive. And I was like, well, we're already getting all these other things, and we're buying a card and all of this stuff for a party I don't want her to go to, because I don't agree with any of the politics about this entire situation. Every element of the party, the invitation, the way it came to me, the way I was asked, the school politics, the child group politics, the number of kids that were there, or should I say that weren't there, all of these factors, I was like, I don't want any part of this. So I'm like, the best thing is if she wants to go, she can go. And do you want to go? And she wants to go. And her best friend was going, and my best friend's going. And all right, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And that's the first problem. Your best friend's going, and I think that is going to be a bad situation across the board. and it's a much longer thing than that. It's not because her best friend was going that it was going to be a problem, but at the same time it was. So I'm like, I think this is going to be a fucking shit show. But she wanted to go, and I was like, all I care about is that you do what you want to do because it's going to make you happy. And then I picked her up, and she wasn't happy. And I could see that she was emotional. And I'm like... And I was saying to my eldest, I was like, this was exactly what the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make was, if she hadn't have gone, it would have been better across the board. I saw my son at preschool the other day. I ran past preschool. I saw him. I went past the gate and I could see him. And I went past the fence, and I'm tall enough to look over the fence, so I could see him. He was right there. And it was another example of like, you know, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, you can see someone, but you can't talk to them, and you can't like interact with them, and they're just right there. And I'm just like, these are the people that I want to be spending time with, and I can't, and I don't, because, oh, we've got to go to work, and oh, you've got to go to school, and oh, you're off doing this, and we're off doing that, and I'm going here, and you're going there, and it all like blooms out from there. Because instead, you're sent out into the world to deal with the person that sits in the office that can't control the volume of their voice. And then you have to deal with the people that stand in the kitchen that don't understand that standing in the kitchen, blocking the entire kitchen, is probably not the place to have a meeting, especially when your meeting is about what your kids did yesterday. I'm sorry, I've got 3 minutes to get to a meeting and I'd really like to make a drink, but apparently that's too fucking difficult for this situation. And like I say, I was going to do a massive rant about driving. I tried to drive to work this morning. That was a fucking mistake. There are too many problems. And then I'm sent out into the world to deal with people. And honestly, I know how all this sounds. I'm giving you an abridged version because honestly, I think I would probably incriminate myself in some sort of, I don't know what. Shut the fuck up, phone, for fuck's sake. Let's talk about something else. I inadvertently conducted a 36-hour fast. Why, you ask? See the above, is what I'd say on that one. It's not all fun and games in my house at the moment. Honestly, yeah, not having the best of times, and because of that, I'm like, well, what's the fucking point in eating this at this point in time? I'll just eat that at that point in time, and I'll be done. So, because of a series of different factors, I ended up in a situation where I didn't have any tea the night before a day of fasting. And part of me was like, I think this will be interesting, because this will be interesting to see what this means going into a fast. What it meant was I started the fasting day, 2 pounds lighter than I had done the day before, and I went, oh shit, now we're in for a ride. I think, weirdly, that it ended up being one of those situations where on the fasting day I only lost like 2, and it's not a loss. I've started to acknowledge that ultimately it's just like dehydration, basically. It's just your body getting rid of like the food that it's holding on to, which is what weighs whatever. I'm losing a minimal amount of fat, and realistically I'm probably losing like muscle. Like I imagine like the dehydration side of things is dehydrating those muscles. And recently I've read, watched, listened to a lot of stuff that talks about fasting, intermittent fasting, more common as a fasting tool, and how intermittent fasting is sort of portrayed as this wonder drug, wonder fix, wonder whatever. All you got to do is fast for this much time, and then you'll lose all this weight. And ultimately, it's just masking the fact that it's not actually doing what you think it's doing. But on the flip side, you can't tell me that if you don't eat anything for 18 hours, that it's not going to have some sort of benefit from a weight perspective. So I think it's a swings and roundabouts kind of thing. I'm not going to lie, it was nice to start a fast day 2 pounds lighter, because usually my fasting days I'm the heaviest point of the week. Did end up in a similar sort of situation going into the Sunday fast. Obviously the Sunday fast is the bigger, more important one, and came in this week, I think 2 pounds lighter than last Monday. Second lowest weight ever, I think. Which is all well and good, all good and groovy, all loads of fun. However, I think I've had to accept that this might be it. This might be me. I think I've reached my peak, my pinnacle. There are two factors. One is something that I have to acknowledge, and the other is something that I have to potentially consider trying. Number one is my body is still changing. Slowly, but it is still changing. Now, obviously, one of my big goals for this year was I wanted abs. And ultimately, there will come a point in time where I have to accept that it's just not on the cards for me. However, that doesn't stop me working out abs like an absolute savage. I worked abs on Saturday in such a way that there were two occasions Saturday afternoon, evening, where I was doubled over in pain, and there was a point in time where I thought I was borderline going to be sick, because I tried a new ab exercise, which is supposed to be the absolute best ab exercise you can do, and holy fucking shitballs. So there's going to come a point where I'm just going to say it's never going to happen. It's not for me. But until then, I'm going to keep trying. Second thing is, the one thing that I haven't particularly tried is the heavily calculated, heavily monitored calorie deficit. And what I mean by that is, as a man, you're allowed 2,100 calories a day. If you want to lose weight, you would go for 1,800 calories. But if you want to maintain muscle mass and be in a position to keep growing in a deficit, you have to hit certain markers. And basically that's eating 1,800 calories of mostly protein. That might end up being what I try towards the back end of the year. And I say towards the back end of the year, sat here in trousers and a hoodie on the 15th of September. Anyone else remember when September used to be summer? Because I don't think I'm ready for this jelly. Something I've had to deal with in the last week. Again, see above. The big red monster has made a reappearance. Again, I kind of know and understand where all this is coming from. But the anger has resurfaced, and the short fuse. And if you put those two things together, anybody remember when I was shouting at my phone about 8 minutes ago? It's that. I'll give you an example. Saturday morning, my son was having a fucking meltdown. And I was like, I'll tell you something. I'm glad that I'm no longer an angry man. And I'm glad that I'm no longer destined to become my father, who dealt with absolutely everything with anger. I'm really glad that's not the man I am or was ultimately going to become. I turned that ship around. I think back to the point in time where, like, when the dog was a puppy and the kids were young, and let's put it this way, I wouldn't have wanted to have been my neighbours, because I imagine their lives will live in hell just listening to me shouting and screaming 18 times a day. And then, honestly, I put it, the irony here is I put it down to when my son was born, there was a part of my brain that went, you can't pass this on because you don't want him to live the life you've lived. And that was it. It was done. And as the days, weeks, months and years have gone on, it's just subsided. And I just, yes, I still have the capability, but it's so far back, so much further back these days that it takes a lot longer to come to the front. Recently, with a lot of the shit that's going on, the big red monster has made a return. So Saturday morning, my son is having an absolute meltdown. Leanne is losing her shit, which Saturday morning in our house, she's stormed off. And I'm like, well, I can prove that in life I'm not destined to become my father, because I am now the man who can go and parent this situation and get results and be like, see, there we go. About 38 seconds later, I was like, I'm going to put this kid through a wall. Like genuine, like, I'm going to put this child through a wall, and what the fuck? He was being so insanely unreasonable. And I was like, I'm not surprised Leon walked away. Fuck this guy. In fact, fuck everything. In fact, I'm going to walk away. Fuck this noise. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan, if I'm honest. I've got the short fuse. This is the short fuse. If you know, you know. I've got the short fuse at the moment, and nuclear level anger to boot. I would like to do a study on testosterone levels after exercise. Because over the last year, 18 months or so, I've been not monitoring like in a truly scientific way, just I'm more noticing. Like, if I walk out of the gym, having had like a hard session in the gym, I walk out of the gym and there's something like mildly annoying, I will absolutely lose my shit. Like, I have the capacity to absolutely lose my shit. If I come home from a run and I come through the door and there's something amiss, I have the capacity to go absolutely ballistic. And like more recently, I'm like, I wonder if off the back of some sort of exercise or any kind of exercise, if your testosterone is like elevated so that you're like more easily triggered by stuff. So yeah, I'd love to do some sort of like study on it. You hear a lot about testosterone these days. I find it's everywhere. Like, everything's talking about testosterone and whether you should be on it and whether you're on it and whether you've got a high enough level and what's your T count and all this, that, and the other. And I listened to something the other day and they were like, increased testosterone. You can tell when somebody's got increased testosterone, like when they're taking like TRT and stuff, and when they've got when you can tell when somebody's got low testosterone. When they've got a smaller neck and head. And I was like, that's funny, because recently I've been noticing that my hats don't fit as much these days. Like, I was running one day and my running hat kept falling down. That's like it pushing the brim, like the bill of the hat up while I was running. I was like, I've never noticed this before. Why is this? And to start with, I was like, oh, maybe I've just lost weight from my head. But I've been noticing on like team meetings and like when you're on a meeting and when you're on camera that I look like some kind of giraffe with like this really long neck. And then I heard this thing on this podcast. I was like, oh man, does that mean I've got low testosterone? Maybe I should get on some testosterone replacement treatment therapy, whichever it is, TRT, whichever. And then I was like, oh shit, they've got me. They've snared me. They've got me thinking that I should get on the T. And obviously, I'd get absolutely jacked. So, anyway. Yes, I am in an unfortunate position at this point in time where the anger is quite bad. And the weird thing, the unfortunate thing is, I don't really know what to do about it. Because I know what's causing it. But I genuinely don't know if I can do anything about it. So I'm in this sort of world, this window of, I don't think I can do anything about it. So what do I do? Because I can't just be going around being angry at everything. And generally, like now, I'm just like, yeah, I've had a couple of outbursts. For effect. Not real, y'all. But, yeah, I'm a bit stuck at the moment. Final thing, it's a bit of one of those, like, because I do like entertainment sections to the podcast, I feel it's, I almost feel like a bit of a fraud when I throw an entertainment-based subject into the stuff from the week section. But I thought this was an interesting thing. It is about computer games, and if you're not here for the computer games, I'm sorry, but this is more about like a consumer standard or a struggling. It's like standards, right? But it's the I can't think of the word. You'll work it out when I start talking. There are so few computer games that come out these days where you like, for me personally, that I am like, oh my word, I am really looking forward to that game. So because of that, when there is one that you're like, oh my god, I'm really looking forward to that game, it kind of becomes like a big thing. Recently a game was released that I've had my eye on for a while. And I was like, this has got day one purchase written all over it, which for me is just not a thing anymore. It's just, I can't do it. And then there was another game that I was like, that is not a day one purchase, but it is one to keep an eye on reviews. And the other problem is what I'm going to talk about. So, there was a game coming out the back end of last week or early last week or something. I've had my eye on this game for 18 months. I saw a trailer for it 18 months ago and was just wildly intrigued. Then I saw another trailer about a year ago and was like, oh my god, this game just looks better and better and better. Then they started showing us some gameplay footage. I was like, oh, yes. I was like, this looks like Dead Space, but not in space. It looks like just in the world. And I was like, oh, finally we're getting some sort of like pseudo successor to Dead Space. This is amazing. Dead Space is one of my favorite games of all time. So on and so on and so on. And then it was being released and I was like, I am excited for this. This could be day one purchase. Game gets released, gets a solid 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 used to be my bread and butter where computer games are concerned. However, I can't get out of bed for 7 out of 10 when you want £60 for it. Because I don't have, basically the short version is I don't have £60 for 7 out of 10. I have £60 for 9 out of 10. And at 9 out of 10, I'm going to go rooting around the internet and find it for more like as close to £45 as I can muster. Because I work on the principle that back when games were games and you were getting a game every 14 minutes, they were 40 quid. The advancement in technology, in gaming, in gameplay, in the frequency of releases and everything else, I am prepared to give you £5 more than that in all these years because, quite frankly, that's what it's worth to me. I think the games market, the games industry, everything that is coming out from that genre these days is subpar. I'll let you remind me of that when I get to the back end of this podcast when I talk about a certain game. So I can't give you £60 for 7 out of 10. It's not happening. I'm not going to give you 50. I'm not going to give you 45. I had an email today. The email said, hey, you know that game that you've been looking at? I was like, uh-huh. They're like, what if we were to give it to you for £29.47? And I said, a little bit rich for my blood. I've hit this strange. I was talking about it while I was at work today. I've hit this strange world where ultimately I bought a couple of things this year. One was a game, and one was a piece of technology. I upgraded the Steam Deck, and I bought Elden Ring. And a part of me went, I don't need any games anymore. And then another part of me went, I don't need to buy anything ever again. And usually something like that would pass. Like, I was buying multiple games a week. I'd play 1% of them. That's not necessarily. That might be 10%, let's say. I was buying games left, right, and centre because I'd found all of these places to get games from cheap. I hadn't turned the PlayStation on for months because it was just Steam game, playing on the Steam Deck. I need to upgrade the Steam Deck because I'm playing the Steam Deck so much. Steam game. Oh, I can get this game for £1. Sold. Like daily, just game after game after game after game after game. And I've talked to you lovely people about it at length and said, I was getting concerned, it was getting a problem. I thought I was starting to have some sort of like shopping addiction. I was like, my lifestyle, I can't afford this lifestyle even though I was paying pennies for games. And I think I reached this peak where I was like, I don't need any more games. And I don't need any more. I don't need any technology, shall we say. And yes, you can say, didn't you just buy a graphics card for your computer? I absolutely did, because I didn't have one, because the one that was in it was a loan, and the person that loaned it to me took it back. So there. So I can't give you £60 for 7 out of 10, and I can't give you 30 for 7 out of 10. Honestly, I don't know what price. Like, if they'd have been like, give us 15 quid for it and it's yours, I think I'd have still been like, nah, I'm good, thanks. There are games that I am genuinely looking forward to this year. Few as they are, I am super looking forward to the Deadpool VR game. And if it ever actually gets released, I'd really like to play Gunman Contracts. Outside of that, can't tell you a game I'm looking forward to between now and Christmas. And I was saying to Sam today, I was like, I've started wondering what I'll be asking the big man for this year. And quite frankly, I'm not sure there is anything. That is the games market to me. You want too much money for not a good enough product. So I'm probably good for now, thanks. It's been a weird old week in the entertainment side of things. I've watched no TV, like, at all. Which makes it difficult to talk about like anything on TV. I have watched movies, and that is plural. Having watched Man of Steel, I saw that Batman vs Superman: The Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition was available on Prime. I was like, that's perfect timing. I've never seen this version of Batman vs Superman, even though I've seen Batman vs Superman a few times. And I'm thinking that I might own The Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. And I've never seen it. Mostly because it's 3 hours long. And all I've ever heard is it doesn't make the film any better. It just gives you more. But it was there, and it was kind of free to watch. And I just watched Man of Steel, and I was like, do you know something? I think I'm going to do a bit of a DC rewatch to prepare myself for a home viewing of Superman. So the plan is that I'm going to do Man of Steel, check. Batman vs Superman, check. I just started Zack Snyder's Justice League this evening. I've watched part 1. I will then watch The Flash, because I've only seen that twice, I think, and the second time I didn't watch it all. And I might watch Blue Beetle because, yeah, just because. I've watched both Aquamans recently for my sins. I'm good for Wonder Woman films, thank you. The first one's fine, the second one is one of the worst films ever made. I'm probably good, thanks. So, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Ultimate Edition. What did we think? Well, when people tell you you just get more movie, they're right. You don't get any more Batman or any more Superman. You just get more film. Is it a good or a bad thing? Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, sorry, you don't understand what I mean there. What I mean there is, yes, it's a good thing, and yes, it's a bad thing, all at the same time. You get tiny little bits where you go, huh. And then you get other bits where you're like, I didn't need this. And you end up with more movie. I've been saying recently, something I would like, not for distribution purposes, for own personal use. I think if you pay money for a film, you should have some sort of ownership rights. And as long as you don't distribute said movie, there should be an option for you to put it into, say, I don't know, a video editing software that I'm looking at right now. And you could then edit it as you see fit. Now, we were having a laugh and a joke at work today saying what they should do is they should redub Tom Cruise's Lestat in Interview with the Vampire and redub it by Matt Berry. And we were howling at the thought around that. Because what I was saying was, I would like to take Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and cut it into 3 parts. The stuff at the beginning, the, weird to say, the Batman versus Superman middle, and the early forming of the Justice League end. Cut it into those 3 parts. And then I'd like to remove the middle bit, sandwich piece 1 and piece 3 together, and I honestly think you would have a reasonably good watchable movie. All the stuff at the beginning really sort of sets it up, really bakes it in. All the stuff at the end, Doomsday, early Justice League, fighty, bang, bang. All the stuff in the middle is ridiculous. That is not the R word I was wanting to use. All the stuff in the middle is so... none of it makes sense. It's so forced. It's so crowbarred. It's so... I imagine that, like, if you watch it with a certain eye, you can physically see that Ben Affleck's like, why are we doing this again? Superman would obliterate Batman in mere seconds. And you can see, like, Henry Cavill's like, so the guy that we've been setting up for a film and a half to be essentially a god is going to fight a billionaire in a suit. And you're telling me he's going to have a hard time. Take that, cut it out of the middle of that movie, and throw it in the bin. Sandwich the other 2 pieces together, drop that puppy down to 145, and I genuinely believe that you could have a good film. Like, that film is widely despised. People hated it before it came out. People hated the concept of it. People who saw it hated it. People who heard it hated it. That's the original version. The Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition is just more. There wasn't a scene where Superman fought a monster. There wasn't a scene where Batman was being Batman for 15 minutes. That was cut out. There are points where you're like, what is extra in this? I know there's more of it. I can feel myself aging. I know there's more of it, but what is the bit that's more? So you've got all of that. When you get to the back end, it is just big old superhero fight. Big bad guy. Few superheroes. And away we go. And it's fine. I genuinely think it's fine. Stuff at the beginning really sets the scene. Stuff at the end, big old death match. Actual death match. It's just the stuff in the middle. Also, there are so many puns that allude to the whole he's Batman, he's Superman, he's Bruce Wayne, there are so many puns. I was like, I don't think I ever noticed this before. Is this the stuff they put in? Did they put all the puns back in? So weird. Me and my eldest decided to watch a movie. I know a lot of the films that I talk about at this point are old films, but I do feel that they're worth a mention, especially a film that is, I've talked about a film that's 50 years old that still stands up. This week's movie was a particularly good one. Me and my eldest watched Fifth Element. Little side note, originally I hated Fifth Element. It took me years to see the genius. However, sitting down and watching a film from 1997 in 2025 didn't take me long to have to Google what the budget for that movie was, because that movie is an absolute work of art. Everything from the clothing, the aliens, the design of things, the gun, that multi-purpose gun, the way that Gary Oldman looks and acts in that film, the fact that the president of, the world is Tiny Lister. My daughter wouldn't believe that the guy who plays the president was called Tiny, and there he was on the credits as Tiny Lister Jr. to make it even worse. I was like, told you. It is an absolute work of art, that film. I had a conversation today where Sam was telling me that Fifth Element is one of his favourite films, and I was like, wow, really? He's like, yeah, I love that film. He was like, did you know that the role of Chris Tucker was originally supposed to be Prince? I was like, oh, can you imagine? I mean, Chris Tucker's, I was going to say great. He is. He's really good in it. But at the same time, that character is wildly annoying. So you're like, yeah. Fun fact, IMDb have Fifth Element down as a PG. Amazon Prime had it down as a 12. Both of those things meant it was absolutely fine for my eldest daughter to watch because she is over both of the ages of that film. So far in, there is a topless nude scene, if anybody remembers that bit. And I went, I don't know if this falls into PG or 12 category, quite frankly. Something that I was absolutely blown away with while watching it this time around was the masks for the aliens. Those aliens look fantastic. In case you're wondering, I'm sorry I buried the lead on that one. In case you're wondering, it had a budget of 90 million, which in nowadays money is like 200 million. It made 268 million, so it was wildly successful. I said I didn't know what they would look at for like rental numbers back in those days, because we used to rent that film, from the video shop. She picked it to watch. She was like, "What's Fifth Element?" I was like, "Oh, here we go." I was saying to Sam today, I was like, I've curated this list of films that I feel she should see. Some of them are 15s, and I think that they're probably, you know, I was saying today, like one film, I was like, I'm pretty sure she can watch this even though it's 15. And then I remember one scene in it and go, ah, fuck. She picked it. We watched the trailer. She was like, yep, let's watch that. I was like, sold. We watched it and I was like, this film is a fucking banger. Which is interesting to say for a film that, like I say, originally I didn't like. Little bittersweet in a way to think that Bruce Willis has no idea of his body of work as an actor because of his like dementia. That's so weird. Very sad. Computer games. Let's talk computer games. Weird, like, not weird. Just a thing. Haven't really played much outside of I've been playing a lot of DC Universe Online because of the fact that me and Mel is playing, and I wanted to max out a character to see what the transition from like normal game to end game and beyond is like, so that I can sort of guide her through that last bit of the game, because I only ever recently got so far and that game has changed a lot. There was a point, I took a picture and a little video yesterday of 3 of my children sat playing DC Universe together. I thought it was hilarious. I do wonder if I've maybe been playing a little bit too much of it for a few reasons. One of those reasons being a couple of points of time I've been like, man, not this mission again, sort of thing. But it's very difficult to level up characters that are max level because it's all gear based and you need the currency to buy the gear to blah, 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 blah. A game I had my eye on a little while ago, and weirdly, the reason I didn't buy it was because it wasn't Steam Deck verified. So I went, then I'm not buying it. It is Steam Deck verified. Now, not even like playable, it is verified and had a free weekend this weekend. The game Dune Awakening. So I downloaded the demo and away we go. There's one small problem. And that one small problem is that I didn't have the time to play. So Friday day, I downloaded it whilst I was getting sorted for the evening, and then I sat and played for about half an hour. All I really got from the half an hour of playing it is basically I'm glad I didn't buy it off the back of the first half an hour of playing. However, I could see the direction it was going. I just wish I'd have had more time with it. Unfortunately, what it means is that I'm now in this sort of limbo of I've played a little bit, which didn't massively thrill me, but I haven't played enough to engage enough with it. But if I want to play more, I'm now going to have to buy it. So I'm going to hold off on it for now. They want 30 something quid for it. And like I was saying before, I just can't, that's just money I just can't part with these days, especially on a game that I'm not 100% sure on. So for now, it will remain on the wish list, as most things do. Finally, this is going to sound... It's going to sound away, let's put it like that. I'd reached a point where I was like, right, I can put Into the Radius 2 to one side. It's due an update at some point in September, but for now, I think I am done with this game. I went off, I played other VR stuff and went, yes, but it's not Into the Radius 2. And that wasn't okay. So I said, right, I think for now we'll leave the VR to one side. We've got other things to be doing. We've got Elden Ring, DCU, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, let's just put it to one side. I ended up on Steam the other day, and I was going through my library, and I randomly clicked on Into the Radius, at which point they told me there'd been an update, and I was like, okay. Today you say? All right, okay. I wonder what this update could be. Let's have a look. And I had a read, and it told me about the new beta that was live that day. And I went, oh. And I was like, it's probably just like a couple of little bits and pieces here and there. And then it started talking about weapon customization and new weapons and other new things and new areas. And I went, fuck, bro. I downloaded it immediately. And I went into it, and it was all very similar. Something that annoys me no end is the beta version of that game always looks gorgeous. Yet the full fat version never looks that good. It pisses me off. Anyway, I went into the shop to have a look around, and it caught me off guard, and I nearly wept because it was so glorious, because there was new weapons, multiple new weapons that looked great. But I think all weapons apart from handguns are customizable. You can basically build your own gun. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. Unfortunately, problem being is when you start in a beta, you can't use any of your mods, and it means you're starting from scratch and you've got no way to massage the game. So I have been playing it normally. It's fucking hard. Every time I go to fill like a clip or a box of ammo, I'm like, oh my god, this takes so long. Every time I try and heal, I'm like, oh my god, this takes so long. Did encounter one of the new areas last night, and holy fucking shit balls, that was intense. It's like a church that's been broken into pieces, and you have to use teleporters to get around whilst looking for 3 stones. But first, you have to fight a shit load of enemies to get in. Took me a few goes. Best bit was, every time I died, the game crashed. Hard crash. Completely boot out of the game. So, took me so long to get that bit done. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm back to really enjoying it. I got level 2 last night, which means that I've got access to more gear and more weapons. I bought a new bag so I can carry more stuff, so on and so forth. But yeah, really looking forward to getting stuck into this. I'm hoping that it goes from beta to live fairly quickly. It's absolutely nothing to do with dropping any mods into it. It's getting to play with some guns. But yeah, just glad to be able to experience it, because it's like experiencing a new game that's just. Imagine buying replacement shoes of the shoes you've just been wearing for the last year. You know that they're super comfy, but you know you're going to have to break the new pair in. It's basically that. So, look forward to more of that coming next time. But until then, that is it for me, and I will catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links, email buttons. You can drop us a line, you can get in touch, you can grab hold of us, you can shake us and say, hey, what you doing? Right, that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome Cookie Cast.